So China officially caved to the United States after Trump's tariffs effectively collapsed their economy. And Trump also signed a massive executive order lowering the prescription drug prices for Americans. I can't wait to see how the Trump deranged left finds a way to be mad at that. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. But before we get into the news about China, let's hear about this monumental executive order that is going to bring down prescription drug prices.
Say it.
How do you respond to the fact that this...
It's not price control. No. What was price control is before. If you want to talk about price control is what they were doing. They were making us pay. They set a price, and they said, here's what we're going to pay, and anything else charge America. Because at that time, they had a very stupid president, and it really went crazy during the last 4 years. And remember this, the Democrats are the ones that allowed this to happen. They were the ones that were the protector of this pricing system. And I think it's going to be very hard. You'll have to ask Democrats, are they going to vote against the one great, big, beautiful deal that's being negotiated now, tax cuts, etc., when now on top of the tax cuts and regulation cuts, all the things, now you're going to say that the price of your medicine is going down by 60, 70, 80%. You're going to vote against it? I think a lot of Democrats are going to be forced to do something that their leaders are going to beg them not to do, and that's vote for the bill. I don't see how they can vote against it. How can they vote against it when drug prices, drugs and pharmaceuticals are going to be down 70, 80%? It's going to be very interesting.
Mr. President,
So Trump has the Democrats in a political headlock. He's forced the party who loves to complain about the absurd cost of drug prices to either side with him in the big beautiful bill, which will now include legislation to force drug companies to give Americans fair pricing, or they'll stay steady in their Trump derangement and have to explain to their constituents why they voted against lower drug prices. Now, I don't pretend to be an expert about the complexities of the pharmaceutical industry, but it's common knowledge that the United States gets charged an absurd amount for drugs that cost significantly less in other places like Canada and Europe. Now, I've seen a bunch of explanations for why this could be the case. Regulations might have something to do with it. I heard an explanation that pharmaceutical companies are held much more liable in the United States, thus leading people to engage in more lawsuits which cost them money, so they have to compensate for that. Other people have said because Europe and Canada provide single-payer government-funded healthcare that they have more collective bargaining power with the drug companies. Some people have said it's because America's the largest market for drugs. We're a very sick people. That could also be true. But the point is there needs to be parity. And as I understand this executive order, it would force the drug companies to start charging other nations more so the American cost comes down and we aren't paying the brunt of the profits for these drug companies. Listen to Donald Trump giving the most Donald Trump hilarious story, talking about one of his friends' experience buying the same drug in London and America and the insane price difference.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up, and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88, and in New York I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
So again, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's common knowledge that the pharmaceutical companies are notorious for charging 10 times or more for the same drug in America. And these are the same drug companies that make most of their money in the United States, but use tax loopholes to incorporate in Ireland so they can avoid paying United States taxes. And yet they still want to game the American consumer by forcing them to pay more than what they charge everybody else. So again, this is a great move by Donald Trump. I can't wait to see how it's going to be implemented. And I cannot wait to see the reactions from the Democrats because I know they're going to fight it. This is something that they fight for all the time, but their irrational Trump derangement will take over and force them again to work against the interests of the American people. But now on to the news about China. So today, the United States and China both dropped their incredible tariffs on each other, and a 30% import will remain on Chinese goods into America, and a 10% tariff will remain on American goods going into China. Let's hear from Donald Trump himself about the biggest win in this preliminary agreement.
We opened up our country to China. They have very few restrictions, and they didn't open their country to us. Never made sense to me. It's not fair. And they've agreed to open China, fully open China. And I think it's going to be fantastic for China. I think it's going to be fantastic for us. And I think it's going to be great for unification and peace. China will also suspend and remove all of its non-monetary barriers. They've agreed to do that. Well, they're very numerous. But again, to me, the biggest thing that came out of that meeting is they've agreed. Now we have to get it papered, but they've agreed to open up China. It's going to be great for everybody.
The reason this is such a big win is because this opens up a slew of new United States businesses that can now sell into China. Our trade deficit with China is in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year because they are very restrictive with allowing American products into their country. China opening themselves up to US business means that now more businesses can expand production, hire more workers, open new facilities. There's a faulty Democrat premise that tariffs won't work because it's just too expensive to manufacture anything in the United States because of our high labor costs. Well, if that was the case, there wouldn't be a single factory open in the United States. We wouldn't make a single thing if that premise was accurate. The truth is, there are thousands of factories operating in the United States that can increase production. That means they don't have to build new facilities. They don't have to invest in these year-long projects. They can hire people today and ramp up production today if they now have access to new markets like China. That's the same kind of trade deal Donald Trump just worked out with the UK and is trying to work out with Europe, Canada, Mexico, Japan, South Korea. Some factories for advanced manufacturing and advanced computing will take a little bit of time to open. But for other things like steel, like cars, like natural gas, this is infrastructure we already have in place and accomplishes the goal of bringing back more middle-class manufacturing jobs simply by allowing these companies to operate in markets they never could before. And now that the Democrats have gone so Trump deranged that they're actively rooting for China and believing every single piece of Chinese propaganda that's put out, the reality inside of China, not what they want to put out to the rest of the world, is much different. The truth is, Trump's tariffs have already laid off tens of millions of people in China and closed thousands of factories. Check out this clip from a channel called China Uncensored that talks about things in China are so bad, the government has actually stopped reporting public statistics.
So if you listen to Chinese propaganda, which I hope you don't, you'd believe China is a super advanced modern society that will totally crush America. But also isn't America's enemy? Please trade with us. Except this is all smoke and mirrors. The real China is something the CCP desperately wants to keep hidden. And one of the ways they do that is by simply not publishing data when it doesn't look good. A big recent example of that was when youth unemployment got so bad, they just stopped reporting the numbers. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. According to the Wall Street Journal, China recently has stopped publishing hundreds of statistics, making it impossible to know what's going on in the country.
So while Chinese propaganda wants to pump out their chest and paint a picture where they're in the position with the leverage, the reality is China relies on mass producing cheap products that it exports to the rest of the world. And if the United States isn't buying any of their stuff, that means their production takes a huge hit, making things more expensive for everyone else that they sell to. And if everyone that they're selling to is also selling less to the United States because the United States has tariffs on them as well, that means they're also buying less things from China, literally collapsing the Chinese economy, which is entirely predicated on its manufacturing sector. The Chinese economy is already extremely shaky and going going through turmoil, and these Trump tariffs added fuel to the fire that the Communist Party cannot withstand. That's why the whole game plan with China was to decouple ourselves from critical production needs and reduce the trade deficit that would allow American businesses to expand and thrive because they can sell their products into China now. And Trump is succeeding on both fronts. Here is CNBC talking about how China is actually on the brink of a workers' revolt because of how bad things are because of the tariffs.
And I'm just wondering whether you can confirm this or hear anecdotally. Apparently 50% of export companies are expected to halt in China, expected to halt production or take extended breaks. Worker protests have erupted. Have you heard of those in various regions? Employees demanding unpaid wages amid economic strain. Thousands of businesses reportedly have been shuttered, and the manufacturing activity and PMI both plunging. Is all that true?
Yeah, so the export sector is hurting. But in terms of the factories shuttering, actually, they're not being shut down, or at least just in my conversations with a lot of different factories, especially those that are working to sell stuff to the United States for Christmas, they're all going to sleep. They're in hibernation. So they're actually paying their workers the basic pay, which is about $350 a month.
They are paying people $340 per month. This is why China had to come to the negotiation table. They were trying to posture as if they hadn't been talking to the US, as if they didn't need to negotiate. US tariffs are shuttering Chinese factories, forcing their workers to get paid barely anything, certainly not enough to survive. And this is the reality of the situation that President Trump understands, and that's why he picked this moment to apply maximum pressure across the board. As the saying goes, if you see your competitor drowning, you're supposed to walk up to him and stick a hose down his throat. The Democrats don't like the strategy because it's not diplomatic, it's not polite, it's dirty, it's high stakes, it's a knife fight in the mud. And Donald Trump is the best at that, and that's why I'm excited that he's gotten the preliminary agreement that he has from China. This is looking really good for America. Now, the final thing I want to show you is Donald Trump giving an epic smackdown to an ABC reporter who asked him about the $400 million plane that the United States government got gifted.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who view that luxury jet as a personal gift to you? Why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why
It's
not?
only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. I could say, no, don't give us. I want to pay you $1 billion or 400 million or whatever it is. Or I could say, thank you very much. You know, there was an old golfer named Sam Snead. Did you ever hear of him? He won 82 tournaments. He was a great golfer. And he had a motto: when they give you a putt, you say, thank you very much. You pick up your ball and you walk to the next hole. A lot of people are stupid. They say, no, I insist on putting it. And then they putt it and they miss it. And their partner gets angry at them. You know what? Remember that, Sam Snead. When they give you a putt, you pick it up and you walk to the next hole and you say, thank you very much.
Respectfully, sir, as a businessman, some people may look at this and say, have you ever been given a gift worth millions of dollars and then not received anything?
It's not a gift to me, it's a gift to the Department of Defense. And you should know better, because you've been embarrassed enough, and so has your network. Your network is a disaster. ABC is a disaster.
Now, this story's pretty funny. It's just another example of manufactured Democrat outrage. So Air Force One is 40 years old, and the United States government has had a contract with Boeing for a new Air Force One that was actually signed by Donald Trump in 2018. But recently, they've decided to up the price, demanding more money from the United States government. And Trump is logically saying, why am I going to pay billions and billions of dollars to Boeing, who won't deliver us a plane on time, who's trying to extort us for even more money, when I can just accept this already built plane and have it outfitted to become the new Air Force One? It's all about Boeing being shisty, but the Democrats want to use the corruption angle, even though he already discussed this back in February and it wasn't a story then. Take a look.
No, I'm not happy with Boeing. It takes them a long time to do, Air Force One. We gave that contract out a long time ago. It's a fixed price contract, and I'm not happy with the fact that it's taking so long. And we may do something else. We may go and buy a plane or get a plane or something, but I'm not happy with the fact that it's taking Boeing so long. There's no excuse for it. And they had a fixed price contract. I made that deal. And now they're losing a lot of money, and they'd like to see if they can up the price, but I make fixed price deals. I don't like time and material deals.
Sir, the only other commercial aircraft maker that could make a plane that big is Airbus. Would you consider
No,
buying it?
I would not consider Airbus over Boeing, no. But I could buy one that was used and convert it. I could buy one from another country, perhaps, or get one from another country. So we're looking at other alternatives.
So Donald Trump is trying to get the American taxpayer a good deal and save us some money. And of course, typical for the Democrats, perfectly on brand, they want more government waste. They want to spin this as a corruption angle because they need something that looks like negative press for Donald Trump because of all of these massive successes that are going on right now. And just out of general curiosity, what could Donald Trump do for the Qataris in exchange for this plane that would harm the American people? Great, we have a better relationship with another rich oil-producing Middle Eastern country. More rich oil guys who will come and invest billions, maybe trillions into the United States, creating more jobs and prosperity here for us. Oh, boo-hoo, wow, such a bad, corrupt situation. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.